This is LOA Recon with Good Vibe Coach Jeanette Ma, where we explore the ins and outs of conscious creation to manifest our favorite dreams come true. Let's have some fun together. Welcome and thank you for joining me for another episode. I put Harvey on the other side of the door thinking he would keep the kittens from wanting to play with it. You know how a cat always wants in whatever door is closed to them. Thought if Harvey was laying on the other side of this door, they wouldn't do that. But they not only are they doing it, I'm not making Harvey's job any easier because I keep playing with them. So if you hear a rattling door in the background, that's my fault. Okay, so I've got a topic for us today. And I know I've said this before, but it's an important concept to grasp because it changes the way we approach our manifesting process. I'm talking about how when we try to manifest something out of resistance to what we don't want, we are just going to spin our wheels. It's hard to make progress when we keep being aware of what we don't want. And yes, the contrast is what inspires the new desire. So it's an essential part of creation. There's nothing gone wrong there, but we've got to learn how to stop pushing against that in order to allow what we do want. We just have to be able to use the new information that we got from that contrast, this new preference that it's given us as a catalyst to turn our attention to what we do prefer. And I know we all know that, right? It makes total sense. We get it. No need to harp on it. This is Conscious Creation 101. Yeah. And yet, the ways we keep doing this are really common. And I do say we because I do this myself, even though I'm pretty good at this manifesting routine. I'm talking about how we want to manifest a new job because we're fed up with our current one, or we want to attract romance because we're tired of feeling alone, or we want to create a 20-pound weight loss because we don't like feeling heavy. As long as our manifesting work includes the vibration of what we don't want, our progress is going to be held up. And I'm not saying that it can't be done, but it works way better when we aren't handicapping our vibration with the frequency of that resistance. I've done this myself, when I manifest nice neighbors because I really don't want to live next to rude ones, or when I wanted to create an easy fix for a sick animal because I didn't want to lose them. I've got a variety of examples, but as long as I've got the no rude people by me instruction or the I don't want them to die vibration in my mix, I'm not helping matters. That's why this game of managing our focus is so important, because it's easy to be dialed on what we don't want, even though we think we're giving attention to what we do want. I know this from personal experience this morning even. One of my ferals, who doesn't usually come in the people part of the house, he likes to stay down in the feral area until we got all this crazy snow, and all of a sudden he just wants to be inside now. And I love him dearly. I don't want to tell him where he has to be, but I get a little nervous when he stays in the people part of the house for too long because he's been known to poop in corners. That's not my highest joy. But it's also not my joy to tell him that he can't come in when he wants to. Even though he's got a perfectly warm and peaceful place with litter boxes and cat towers and chairs and beds and blankets and feeding stations and treats and catnip in his part of the house, if he wants to come in here, I'm not going to tell him no. But I also don't want to clean up poop from my carpet. I really don't. So I woke up this morning and I realized he was on the bed, which was really sweet. He is one of my favorite cats. My first thought was, is there poop on my carpet? That's right where my thought process went. And even as I was asking myself that, I was smelling. I was like, do I smell poop? Okay, there was no reason for me. It's not like I smelled it and then I was like, was it him? I went looking for a bad smell. I'm still laying in bed, but I'm wondering, is there a problem? That's how easy it is to turn to the resistance. Look, I'm practically requiring this cat to go do something that he might not otherwise even have any ideas of doing. Because I'm there imagining exactly what I don't want. That's built-in resistance, and it is such a contrary factor in manifesting what I prefer. And I'm not saying it's a complete deal breaker for manifesting what I want unless I'm focusing on that more than I'm imagining or vibrating what I do want. I've heard Abraham say that even if we've got like a 51-49 ratio going, 51% positive, 49% negative, you only have to be a little tilted in favor of what we prefer in order to see momentum working for us. So it's not that I have to completely eliminate every negative thought Trust me when I say I am nowhere near 5149 on this subject, probably more like 95.5. And look, the thing is cat poop on the carpet. That's not going to be the end of my world. I can live with it. I got a carpet cleaner here. It's not a giant deal. But for the subjects that do matter to me and to you, it's worth getting better at releasing our resistance on those. So how do we do that? Well, there's more than one approach to this. One is, and this isn't necessarily the one I'd recommend for us all to try, but one valid approach is to just try to drive all thoughts of what we don't want from our attention. Like just refuse to go there. It's kind of like Neville style, where we just refrain from entertaining any idea other than we got what we wanted. That is doable. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think it can be tricky. I have used that approach on things that are really important to me, like getting clients when I had a new practice. I got pretty good at noticing when the fear of, this isn't going to work, when those thoughts came up, and then just replacing them with thoughts that took me where I wanted to go instead of keeping me stuck in what I didn't want. So I didn't get rid of the negative thoughts. I was just leveraging them as triggers to refocus on what I did want. But I was highly motivated for that manifestation. I had a lot riding on it, and it inspired me to play a really sharp focusing game. So yes, that can work, but the routine that often works better for me is to just dial down the contrast on what I'm not loving. Like just find a way to let it be okay or not mind it so much, just not make it such a big hairy deal. Like some of my big topics of contrast are when one of my animals dies, oh gosh, or not actually when they die. I'm not talking about not feeling grief when they die. I'm talking about before that even happens, just my fear of it. So when I'm pushing against that resistance, the fear that I might lose them, I can dial down that contrast and just, remind myself, well, you know what, Jeanette, everyone's going to die sooner or later. It's not a matter of if, it's when. It happens. And I'm just saying these are the thoughts that help me soften out some of the rough edges on this particular contrast for myself. Your mileage may vary, but I will just think some thoughts like, you know what, they're going to go and they're going to do it in a variety of ways, and I don't have to control that in order to be okay. And death isn't the terrible thing that we've been trained to think of it as anyway. It's not the end. It's just a change. And it's a change I can accept. I've done it many times. I'll do it many more. And who am I to say how long someone should live or how they should make their exit from this reality? That's not my call. And there's plenty more to love, and I can still love them even if they're not sitting on the chair next to me, right? So I can feel a thought process like that, softening my resistance to losing someone, so I'm not activating it so strongly. And it sounds contradictory, but if I can stop fearing it so much, I'm not as strong a magnet for the thing that I don't want. And yeah, maybe death isn't the greatest example here because that feels like a subject that it's a little tricky, like higher power, or at least the other party has a say in it as well, so it's not just me creating it. But I wanted to use an extreme example of where my contrast gets tricky to release. So making peace with the thing that we fear or toning down the not this volume on something, that can be helpful. And sometimes I practice that by imagining the worst case scenario, which my clients really hate when I do this for them. Oh, they don't like it. But sometimes I imagine the worst case scenario and what that might be like so that my irrational fear can't just continue unchecked. It kind of pulls the rug out from under the gremlins that want me to think this outcome would be so bad because I'm looking right at it. And I can see how, it'll be okay. It's not going to be that bad. I'll live. Or even if I don't live, that's not so bad either. It just helps tone down the resistance. You know what else comes to mind for this work? Byron Katie's teachings, and many other spiritual religious teachings, to love what is. Just appreciate what's already here. Because when you can make friends with reality or what you're imagining reality might turn into, instead of demonizing it, you make friends with it. When you can do that, you're already winning the contrast game. When we know what it's like to unconditionally enjoy or love or feel good, then it doesn't matter so much what's going on out there because we've gotten pretty good at feeling good in here regardless, right? We can feel better or relaxed just because we like it better. No reason needed. Just because we picked it. That's why. And the more we choose that, the easier it gets to keep choosing it because it becomes a vibration that has momentum in us. And then that just keeps perpetuating itself because that's what law of attraction does. It keeps growing whatever we've got activated. And every day is another chance for us to get better at feeling better. All right, I was getting a little sidetracked there, but my original point is that we got to find a way. Well, we don't have to, but it's smart to find a way to not be so uptight about what we don't want or not be so aware of what's wrong or what might go wrong, or just to not push against what we don't want so much. Let's drop that battle. We got to let it be okay, or let it not bother us that much. So however you can stop signaling universe with, I don't like this, I don't want that, because it can't do anything but give us exactly what we're dialed on. This is harder to do when we've had long-standing habits of pushing against. It's harder to make peace when we're more familiar with war. So it's worth using your opportunities to practice. That's what they're here for. They're giving us a chance to practice every day, loving life unconditionally. And when we understand the big picture, when we know who we are and why we're here and what it's all about, it's easier than ever to not mind the stuff that we used to get really riled up about. You've had moments of knowing that, right? When we get a glimpse of the perfection of everything just as it is. How lucky we are to be here, even before we win the lottery or get the dream house or whatever. Remembering that unconditional enjoyment of life, when we've experienced it before, that can help us disentangle from so many knots of contrast that would otherwise make life just a miserable slog. And the truth is, you know what? It's all valid. It's all true. Whatever we choose, there isn't a right or a wrong here. It's more of a what would I rather kind of situation. So let's choose wisely and remember that it takes some practice. So let's not be hard on ourselves while we're getting better at feeling better. And I'm just going to say that I did scoop litter boxes this morning and all the poop that was supposed to be there was there. That's my way of putting attention on what I want instead of talking about what I don't want. Okay, and maybe litter boxes with poop isn't the greatest note to end on. Let's wrap up here. I found this lovely quote from Abraham online today. While I was getting ready to record this for you, it reads, "If you can appreciate what is, even in the absence of the improvements you seek, then the improvements you seek must come fast." Here's to appreciating what is, or loving what's so, or at least not minding it so much, and letting our ideas of even better unfold in delicious, delightful ways right before our very eyes. Or maybe while we're distracted enjoying something else, because sometimes the magic likes us to look away before it unfolds. All right, I hope you got some inspiration from this episode. Thanks for listening, everyone, and happy manifesting.